The ambassador to the UK, Miguel Berger, joins us now. Very good morning to you, Ambassador. Thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, good morning.
Your initial reaction after what I imagine was quite a long night for you. So again, thank you for joining us bright and early.
No, sure. We had a long election night. The final results came before midnight. Yeah, the situation is quite clear, I must say. So, as you've said, the Christian Democrats have won the election. There's only one viable option, and that is to work with the Social Democrats of Chancellor Scholz in what we call a grand coalition. Christian Democrats with Social Democrats.
Why is that the only viable option? Is it not fair to say that the two winning parties, the first two positions, could form a coalition?
Mathematically, they could, but politically, it's not possible. And the Christian Democrats, all parties in the political center, have ruled out to work with the far-right AfD. So they will be, with their 20%, the main opposition party in the German parliament, but no coalition with them. That was made very clear yesterday by Friedrich Merz.
It's clear that the CDU, of course, won the most votes. I mean, the other big takeaway, I think it's fair to say, is that it was a very bad night for the governing Social Democrats, SDP. Is it fair on the electorate that they get to stay in government?
That's the way how it works in coalition governments. Obviously, for them, it will be difficult. There will be some changes. Chancellor Scholz has already made clear that he will step aside. So there might also be, we'll see some new faces there. But, given the situation we are in, it's the only viable option to get a majority in parliament. And, we are in such a difficult geopolitical situation. That's why we need to form a stable government as quickly as possible in Germany. And that's what Friedrich Merz promised yesterday, that he will sit down this week to start coalition negotiations.
How long will that take?
That might take till Easter, so I'm very optimistic that in 6-8 weeks we will have a new government. And as I said, if I look at the situation today, 3 years of Russia's aggression against Ukraine, a very unstable geopolitical situation, we need very quickly a stable German government in order to take the necessary decisions.
What will be the change from Olaf Scholz to Friedrich Merz on the topic of the war with Ukraine and defence spending? Is he going to be tougher on Russia than Olaf Scholz was?
I think both of them are tough on Russia. Now, currently, the question is really what role will Europe play in the negotiations? That's why the visit of President Macron to Washington today, but also the Prime Minister on Thursday, will be so important. And I can tell you that France, Germany, the UK, we are very closely coordinating our security policy because we all have the joint interest to be at the table, but also to achieve a just and lasting peace for Ukraine, which guarantees their sovereignty.
Is Friedrich Merz more pro-UK? Is he an Anglophile?
He's definitely an Anglophile, but you have many Anglophiles in Germany. So we will work for the bilateral treaty, which was started by the previous government. Our security cooperation is very close. We are partners and friends in NATO, in G7. All of that is going to continue. But what we need really is that the biggest economy in Europe, the biggest country, which is Germany, needs a stable government which is able to lead in Europe.
I guess, change helps turn over the leaf, start a new chapter. And clearly we've had that here. Brexit caused a lot of division, but the Conservatives and Boris Johnson are no longer in power. Is it fair to say that that's needed a little bit in Europe as well to move on to a new chapter where relations can be rationalised? I guess there's a view sometimes from the UK that barriers to trade are erected for the sake of it as opposed to what's sensible. Will this be the start of a new sensible chapter of fresh negotiations on trade between the EU and the UK?
We would be glad to have these negotiations. We are going to have an EU-UK summit on the 19th of May. The government has laid out proposals for the reset with the European Union. And we are absolutely open for that. So no hard feelings there. It's an absolute openness. And I would even say, as I said, if we look at the world around us, but also what is happening in the United States. We need to cooperate in Europe on security, on trade, on investment, on many, many fronts, because our governments have to deliver. The only way to reduce the influence of the far right is by delivering on the key tasks.
And just finally, I guess, to bring it back to the AfD, the far-right party who got nearly 20% and doubled their vote since last time. If a grand coalition is formed with the political establishment, the CDU and the SPD, and it fails, what will happen next time? The AfD will probably surge again.
Yeah, so you're absolutely right. This is a danger, but not only in Germany, in many other countries. So the only way is really for governments to deliver on the key topics. And in Germany, that's economic reform, investment in infrastructure, migration, very similar challenges as we are facing, any government is facing in Europe, but also here in the UK. The only way is really delivery.
Ambassador Berger, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.